I'd like to welcome Alex and Paisley here today with me in our very first In the Saddle with Linda series. And the whole idea of this is about being able to share your journey as horse owners that have used Poseidon products, but more than that, you know, what have you learned in terms of nutrition and management? And my dream is to be able to inspire as many horse owners as possible. So thank you so much for joining me. And it is a Sunday as well. So thank you for giving up your time. And I'm really keen to hear about your journey. So firstly, just tell everyone about why, I guess, you came to Poseidon, maybe a little bit about your horses, some of the challenges that you had at the time when you first approached us here at Poseidon Equine.
Sure. So, well, it actually just came up on my Facebook feed, and I was having trouble with an older horse, Phoenix, who's 23, and we've always had stomach troubles with him. We've owned him since he was 3 years of age. We work with a nutritionist, and a lot of the items that are in your product I was already feeding, but things still just weren't kind of right with him. And I think the main cause this time was it was April. We'd had a lot of rain, a lot of weeds had come up in the paddock, and just that hindgut pain from when he eats capeweed or flatweed. You can just see it when he moves, and he was depressed and unhappy. And yeah, just started reading about digestive and the testimonials that you put up, and thought, that's kind of interesting. Maybe it's time to try something else. So spoke to my nutritionist, and she actually had been doing some work with you. I didn't know
Jill Davies.
Yes, Jill Davies from the company Feed Your Steed. And she said, look, you know, I've been using it on my horses. I'm really impressed with it. Give it a go. So we started using it, and yeah, within 3 days started noticing a difference, you know, a softness in the face, better movement, like he wasn't in pain anymore. And I think it's the buffer that you use is different. I was using Equishore, and I think your buffer works much better than
that horse. Yeah, they are different.
So yeah, just things just kept getting better and better with Phoenix. And Phoenix is a horse that I reckon we have spent $6 million on. You know, like he has seen every vet, has well, basically we got told that he needed to be on omeprazole for all of his life. Like he was a horse that just needed omeprazole. And that kept him from colicking and being in a lot of pain, but just like unhappy limbo land, you know. And omeprazole is kind of really expensive as well, you know, to sort of be on that product. I mean, what is it, $250 a box now, last year, what, 2-3 weeks, you know, it's just, and it's not even really designed to be used that way, I found out later on. So so your product has been excellent for him. You know, we haven't used omeprazole now for over a year with him.
So we really started with Phoenix because as an older horse, he was having these issues, and then he started looking so good, and you look at the rest of your herd that weren't so, you know, dramatically we needed to fix things, but you just start wondering, maybe you need this, and then we'd put one other horse on it, and then we'd see all of the improvements, and then you couldn't hold back, and you couldn't not give it to the other one. So over a period of, you know, about a month, they were all at different phases of starting them on it, and each of them really improved, but in different ways. And I guess the inadequacies or whatever they were experiencing through the way we were feeding before had all come up in very different ways. So Phoenix extreme with colicking and very clearly having stomach ulcers, but in terms of movement and posture and emotional things that we were just decided was their personality. We couldn't not say, well, what does it do with this one? What does it do with that one?
Now there's all 5 of them on it.
Your own field study. Oh, look, Paige, I think you've raised a really good point, because it's not just about how they look, it's all those, it's the behaviour, it's how they feel. And that's what excites me so much about gut health and gut microbiota, because we know that you know, microscopic community that lives in our horse's gut and in ours is responsible for so much. And, you know, I understand your frustration, Alex, about using omeprazole long term, because, you know, we suppress acid in the stomach to try and let that stomach, you know, heal in horses. And horses make stomach acid all the time. Unlike humans, you know, we stimulate the acid when we're eating. Horses are doing it all the time. But the challenge is, if we stop that long term, acid's there for a reason. It has to help. What keeps toxins and pathogens, you know, stops them doing damage. It also starts protein digestion. So when you suddenly stop acid for that long, you know, there's got to be compromises down the track in terms of digestion. I mean, it certainly has a role to play short term, but you know, for long term, it's financially, it's tough. That's a lot of money, but also, you know, it's not doing, the problems are still there. So I think,
and we saw that with him. We ended up getting a stomach abscess, you know, like, and that was a terrible thing to deal with, like really strong antibiotics. So you know, just getting worse and worse, and then obviously it impacts on their hooves, and so then they're sore all the time. So but I mean, he's amazing now, like just amazing. He's 23, and I think he's probably in better health now than like the whole time we've kind of had him. You know, his soundness, his posture, just you know, really, really impressive. So
you're saving money, and you've got better results with your horses. So that's
absolutely. so with Phoenix, we helped to fix up those sort of problems. Then with the other horse, Griffin, it was a lot about movement. You know, like he suddenly was able to be so much more forward, and the cantering was better, and just you know, just
and Paisley,
offering everything. You know, definitely.
It was really interesting because he was a horse that I got as a performance horse, and he, you know, I had times when he had a lot of enthusiasm and movement, but it was also kind of very, there was a kind of fear and nervousness there. So a lot of the time you're like, is this wanting to move, or is this an adrenaline fear kind of response? So we'd been doing lots of training, and I got to a point where he didn't really he just always felt like he'd rather not be going or moving, and you know, he was very pleasant to be around, but he just didn't have any of that enthusiasm, and particularly with trot and canter transitions. I mean, it was subtle things, but there just wasn't, it's like he'd do everything you asked him to do, but there wasn't a sense of, you know, wanting to do it, and there wasn't this zest to it. There was kind of just a lethargy and heaviness, and after switching to the switching and waiting, you know, for the product to do what it does, he's just got that willingness to just go forward and fly, and it's honestly like riding a different horse.
It's incredible, isn't it? I get excited because I feel that in my own horses, and it's this trainable energy. And from past horses, you kind of, it's almost like that energy, you think they're about to take off on you, but they don't. They're with you, and they're trainable, and you're right, it's that willingness. And I think that's what I love about gut health so much, is that it has an impact at every level, and we're so lucky to have these amazing products that can work with the horse's gut and get the results that you're experiencing. Can I ask, have you made many diet or any diet? I mean, you're working with Jill already, so no doubt you've had a pretty great diet, but has there been any shifts in the diet as well since you've been using the products?
So I suppose the biggest thing is the pasture. Like, you know, it's all very well and we live on 80 acres, and we bought this property so our horses could have amazing big paddocks and graze and be together. But if your paddock, if your pastures are compromised, and it's kind of sandy acidic soils, and you get a lot of weeds, and you've got grasses that are growing that are stressed, and you've got strange weather conditions, then that isn't necessarily good fiber. So when we say, yes, they need to be on a diet of fiber, it's that whole low sugar, low fructans, low starch. You know, I respect now that there are times of the year when my pasture isn't ticking those boxes. So taking them off the pasture, putting them in smaller paddocks, and just getting quality hay into them, making sure that they do eat 10, 12 kilos of hay a day by feeding them in bags. So a lot of management. Excellent. But and working towards happier, healthy pastures is the big thing. So it's not just that whole keep them out on pasture. For us, it was that asking that question, what is that pasture actually like? And horses don't, well, my herd just don't do well when there's a lot of cape weed and flat weed. It does impact. And although, I mean, they looked amazing, you would never have thought, you know, their appetites were good, their manures were good, they looked excellent, but it causes inflammation or something, you know, because I just don't have that. And now that we don't have that, our herd is like so much softer, so much happier. You know, posture is beautiful, more athletic. So, you know, you think, oh God, you know, you're locking you up, you're not moving around, but they all move so much better from not having that freedom. And I'm not trying to promote that's how you should kick horses, but you know, you kind of got to ask the question, if your pasture's not really up to scratch, you can put the hay out on the pasture, but they don't eat the low sugar hay. They'd much rather eat the cape weed or the, you know, the sugary grasses and that sort of thing. So,
no, look, really good point.
But pasture is tricky, foreign frontier.
In WA, I know you've got more challenges, particularly getting hay at times can be difficult, but I think the reality is we've got to stop just guessing and thinking it's okay. If we truly want the best out of our horses, we have to take into all the things that you're mentioning into consideration, and then what you get is a different horse. And it's, look, I'm a horse owner. I've got so many horses myself, and over the years, I look back at some of the things I've done and gone, gosh, no wonder I wasn't getting the results, but I thought I was doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But you learn. And now, ideally, by you sharing your stories, there may be someone who watches this and goes, I'm ticking all the boxes, but I'm still not getting the results. Maybe it is my pasture. So I think we have to take all those things into consideration.
Yeah.
So can I ask that in terms of, I know, Alex, we had quite a few chats early on. Can I ask about what your experience was with Poseidon Equine, aside from the products? So just in terms of what sort of support did you get from us as a company?
Sure. Excellent support. Like you were very, very quick to respond. You handed my questions over to a nutritionist and then to a vet. They sent me other material, research material. You've invited me to excellent webinars, and your newsletters are full of really cool information. So, once you start really thinking about this and getting active and listening to this, things just start really clicking in your head and reinforcing things. And yeah, it's just that kind of intention to get things right. You can do it. And it just makes such a huge difference. I mean, I was so motivated from it that I actually hosted a talk from my house, because I realized how important this is. The reality of it is that horses get sold on, horses get euthanized, people get injured, and it can just come down to the fact that they're in pain from not being fed properly. So yeah, we had a talk, and Jill came and did a big demo with all of her things with gut health, and we had 20 people come, and they all went away so enthusiastic, took lots of notes and everything. So yeah, it became, although like your guide mission, I also felt that because of what I experienced and saw through my horses. It's like, this is incredible. I mean, we can tell you stories like the farrier came and all 5 horses were done in under an hour because they were so perfect, and he's been doing our horses for years, and he's like, they're so relaxed, and even the horse dentist came and they weren't scared of going in the crush. So yeah, more confident, as you say, trainable, work with you, want to do the right thing. And the dentist left and said, that's how an appointment should be. It's like, so mind-blowing things. And this is just from really focusing on getting the gut right.
I'm loving seeing your passion and excitement, because that's how I'm about it. And when I first got into this space, it was like I knew my own personal experience with gut health was amazing, and then applying it to horses was like next level. And I suppose I still think how it's actually easy once you get a head around it. Just overcomplicated things. And I used to feed about 20 different things, and I'm not exaggerating, and thought I was doing the right thing, and I still wasn't getting the results. And now it's simple, and all the things that you're experiencing, I experience, and it's so great. And so I love that you're sharing your knowledge, and again, joining us here today so we can then share this to other people. So can I ask, if you had to pick, and you can maybe give me 2 each if you like, someone's watching this, what are your top tips? Someone who's starting out in the journey, has perhaps never heard about gut health or wants to learn about it. What are 2 tips each that you would recommend? Or if that's too much, you can give me one, I don't mind.
Actually, I reckon that's quite easy, because after watching that webinar, that when you said, are you feeding your good bugs or your bad bugs? Stop and think about that. And most people know that now with their own health. So yeah, going back to that, low sugar, low starch, low fructose. If you get that in your head, and that feeding 2% of your horse's weight in quality fiber, I reckon just if you get those 2 things right, and then if you've had horses that have compromised, look further, use a supplement like digestive. It makes a difference. It makes a huge difference. Get them back on track. And then maybe if you just follow that, you wouldn't need it. But yeah, we are blown away by, absolutely blown away by, it's like when you read stories about the relationship you can have with your horses, as far as I'm concerned, if your gut's compromised, you are never ever going to get true connection or true relaxation. You know, it's just, you can do all of the courses, and we're very much into, you know, being a little bit like that about connection and trying to have good energy and all of that. But if your horse is in pain, you're never going to really get that. And once you do get that, horses are so cool. Like, so cool.
Thanks, Alex. They were great. I love that bit about the connection. If they're in pain, you know, it's true. How can they be their best self if they're in pain? So yeah, great. That's good. I love that you can then quote 2% of body weight a day in hay and fibre. I love that, because that's just like, and it's a lot of hay. It is actually quite a lot, but then you don't need a lot of other things on top of that. So that's special. Paisley, do you want to add anything to that?
Well, I think that sums it up from the feed perspective, but I reckon from my perspective, I'm doing maybe more so of the riding and you know, the training work with the horses and seeing these personality shifts is going back to that message that, you know, you hear all the time when your horse isn't telling you things and they're not wanting to, and this is really subtle. I wasn't never dealing with like any major issues, you know, but there's just that sense of them not wanting to be a part of things. You know, really go back to that question of comfort and health, and you know, even minor, you know, I say minor, it's not if you had pain, if it was minor, you'd want to do something about it, but you know, there's little things when you can get all that part of it right, you know, horses can just be those amazing partners that you're aspiring to, and really from a training perspective, once they're comfortable, they seem to really want to, which is a great experience. It's been really fun lately. So
I love it.
I'm glad I watched that on Facebook. I've been really benefiting from all of this research and journey and what I've been experiencing, which is, you know, it's the worst time of year with weather and work for us to actually ride and exercise our horses, which is, you know, something I put a big kind of emphasis on. So if anything, that's been, you know, not a big motivating factor. So to see them look better and look stronger and move better from, you know, not having to do so much of the training and exercising thing, but just from feeding well. I mean, it's great news, because you know, you can't always do as much as you like to.
They all get taller, you know, they just all seem to lift up, and their posture changes, and a relaxation, you know, a relaxation through the neck and everything. They just transform. And
I love that you've seen the subtleties and the things that, you know, some things jump out like the glossy coat and the improved feet, but it's the subtleties, it's those little things. And you know, and we love our horses and we want the best for them. And I feel so privileged to be on this journey sharing, and you're doing the same. You know, you're sharing your story, and then we can all make a difference, so that, you know, every horse has the potential to have a better life in terms of less pain. And we didn't know they were in pain. That's the thing, we didn't know. But it's the pain, it's the little subtleties, things that you hadn't noticed before. And you know, I'm not saying your horses were girthy, but so many horses are girthy, and we just put it down to that's what they do. No, they shouldn't be girthy. So it's all those little things that, you know.
But something else that's quite funny as well, 2 of our horses don't really have forelocks, you know, they just have little tiny, and we're having these beautiful forelocks growing, like, you know, they're actually in the wind, they blow, and they've grown down to their star. And you know, we mentioned this to the farrier, and I said, you know, if they don't have forelocks, obviously something's not working, something's not going through, you know. And so when he's been on his run trimming horses' hooves, he has a look and sees, you know, the horses that don't have forelocks or very little forelocks, they tend to be sick. The owners are having behavioural problems. So he came back and he said, you know, you're right. He said, forelocks, there's something missing. So that was really funny, that. But so I mean, they've had them all their life, haven't they? Those little, and now, you know, you run your fingers through this hair. It's like, wow, that's cool. So that's real physical evidence when you start, you're growing a forelock.
Still very early in the journey. It hasn't been that long. You know, how many months has it been?
April for the 2 horses that we first started speaking about, and then the others kind of slotted in as the months went by. So yeah, maybe 5-6 months now.
Which is, in terms of gut re-establishment, it's still, they think roughly about 12 months to get that really resilient gut. So ideally, you're going to keep seeing more improvement. And it may be that when you go out and compete, that the horse doesn't change, which is what we want. They don't have to lose manure. They're not anxious. They keep eating, drinking, come home and finish up their food. no change is what we want. We don't want them to have these negative effects to stress, or have this gut that can cope with the change. So look, I could talk forever. I am so grateful for you sharing your story. Thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to stop.
Keep up the good work.
Pardon?
Keep up the good work.
Thank you. I'm going to stop the recording. Let me have a look.